Picture this. You're merging onto Interstate 40 in your brand new Ram 3500. Behind you, a 15,000-pound horse trailer. You've just hit 70 miles per hour when you notice something in your mirrors. A thin wisp of smoke trailing from under the hood. Within seconds, that wisp becomes a plume. You pull onto the shoulder, and as your boots hit the pavement, you hear it. Sharp popping sounds from the engine bay, like firecrackers going off. You run. Behind you, your $100,000 truck erupts into flames. So stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for some extreme turbulence, because this is Final Boarding Call.
Bottom line, don't buy a Mopar.
I knew it. I was like, I give it approximately 3 seconds before Zach makes a Ram joke.
I'm fairly certain if this one was popping and catching on fire and everything, that I know you said 3,500, but this thing must be a gasser, because I don't think any of the diesels had this issue.
We're going to talk about it.
Let's figure it out.
We're going to dive in. Hello and welcome to Final Boarding Call. I am your disaster-obsessed host, Alice.
And I'm Zach. I might actually be useful in this episode. It's hard to say.
This is our first car episode.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've done race stories, but this is a car issue story.
Yes. And Zach is a mechanic.
Mechanic, if you would.
He's a good one. He's a winner.
I play one on TV.
Yeah. Folks, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Tell a friend. Check out our merch store. It's on our website, finalboardingcallpodcast.com. And I'm going to hop right into the sources here. We have the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration recall documents. So, spoiler alert, there's going to be a recall. We have field reports from owner complaints, forensic engineering analysis, ongoing class action litigation. All of the sources are listed in the show notes.
And everyone, you will hear me make multiple Dodge jokes in this episode.
Okay.
However, let's also be clear that all brands of cars these days are just bad. And Chevy's also going through a class action lawsuit right now.
And Zach owns one.
Yeah, like there is no good. If you want long-lasting vehicle, you pay Toyota prices, and it's not really worth it there either.
Here we go, folks. To understand how we got here on the side of the road with a brand new truck that's completely engulfed in flames, we need to go back to September 2019. Not because that's when the first Ram truck caught fire, though it is, but because that's when Stellantis made a decision that would have catastrophic consequences. Ram's heavy-duty trucks, the 2500 and 3500 models, are designed for serious work. We're talking about trucks that can tow up to 37,000 pounds. Trucks that haul horse trailers, fifth-wheel campers, construction equipment, and commercial loads day in and day out. The heart of this capability is the powertrain. It's a 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel engine paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission.
ISN.
Now, let me tell you about this transmission because this is critical to understanding what went wrong. A transmission is essentially the middleman between your engine and your wheels. It takes the power your engine generates and it converts it into motion. In a heavy-duty truck, the transmission is under enormous stress. Just so that people are aware, we actually have a diesel truck that we got to tow our race cars, and those things work.
They do be working.
They do be working. I will say, this diesel truck is much happier towing than we had a regular gas truck before this, and on that one, we were constantly checking to make sure that the transmission was still happy and working.
They factory have a trans temp gauge.
Yeah, okay. So in a heavy-duty truck, the transmission is under enormous stress, especially when it's towing or hauling heavy loads. The specific transmission that we are talking about is called the 68 RFE. And it's been around since 2007, but in 2019, Stellantis, which is the parent company of Ram, formerly known as Fiat Chrysler, redesigned a critical component inside of it, the valve body. Now, think of the valve body as the transmission's brain. It directs hydraulic fluid through a maze of channels and valves to engage different gears. Now, to understand, is that accurate, Zach?
Yeah, and then the torque converter would kind of be the heart pumping all the fluid.
I love that. Yes. And this is where the heat problem starts. Starts at the heart. The torque converter is what physically connects your engine to your transmission. It transfers power through fluid rather than a hard mechanical link, which is why your car doesn't stall when you stop at a red light with the engine running. But that fluid coupling comes with a cost: friction. As the torque converter does its job, it generates heat. That's just unavoidable. Under heavy load, that heat can be significant. The valve body is what regulates fluid pressure throughout the transmission, including through the torque converter. So when Stellantis redesigned the valve body in 2019, they changed how hydraulic pressure was managed. Isn't it fun to know that planes, trains, automobiles, and everything in between, hydraulic pressure will really come and bite you in the ass? In this case, the result was that the torque converter now ran at dramatically higher temperatures. We are talking 300 degrees Celsius.
Jesus.
Over 570 degrees Fahrenheit, which is well above what the transmission's cooling system was designed to handle.
And reference, most vehicles, if you have a trans temp gauge to look at, you're going to be sitting under 200 degrees, ideally under 170.
Thank you. Yes.
170 degrees, whatever that is, Celsius.
It's okay. Our international listeners are so patient with our ignorance to any other system of measurement.
American or whatever.
This heat had to go somewhere. As the fluid superheated, it expanded and it built pressure. Every transmission has a vent designed to release this pressure gradually. But the 68 RFE's vent was sized for the old valve body, not this one. So under sustained heavy load, pressure would build until it found the path of least resistance. And in the 68 RFE, that path was the dipstick tube. It's crazy.
I've made jokes about engineers forever in my life, but the more I learn about things, the older I get, and the more things I experience, the more I just realize that all engineers are some trial and error processors. They're like, oh, well, like, we got to do this thing. What are the consequences of that thing? We'll find out. And this is how they find out, by burning people's cars to the ground.
100%. Yeah. And the detail about the dipstick tube is so crazy to me because I've blown up a few engines in my day. We both have. We race cars. Like, that's just part of the hobby, is you're going to destroy some engines. But my most catastrophic destruction was my old Subaru STI engine. And anybody that knows anything about Subarus is like, yeah, it was. But when I blew that thing up, the dipstick ejected itself so hard, it dented the hood of my car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I believe it.
And we're going to make a correction for all the people right now that listen. If you're into cars, the STI is not known for head gasket issues.
No.
I don't know where that misconception really came from. They just melt cylinder 4. And just melt it all the way down.
And I did.
You did.
I really did. Okay. Anyway, enough about blowing up Subarus. Let's talk about blowing up some Rams. So the dipstick tube runs from the transmission pan, which is under car.
The transmission pan is going to be the lowest point.
Yeah.
And the dipstick tube is going to come up on the passenger side of the engine bay, and it'll just be a tube that has a little yellow handle on it, I guess.
If you don't know what the dipstick is, please
I don't know how to break it down.
I'm more concerned for your car. Everybody should know what the dipstick is.
Lots of people just pay to take it to a mechanic. They don't need to know.
No, you should know. But anyway, if you're bored, go pop your hood and find that cute little yellow, it looks like a pull-me tab almost. And you can pull that thing out, and it's going to be a long metal stick, and there will be some oil, hopefully, on that. And it'll tell you what your oil level's at. On Ram heavy-duty trucks, that tube sits directly alongside the turbocharger. Boom, boom, boom.
And turbos also get incredibly hot.
Hot. Turbochargers get extremely hot under load, well over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you have a tube leading from a superheated, overpressurized transmission running right past a component hot enough to melt aluminum. What Stellantis' engineers either didn't foresee or allegedly chose not to address is what happens when pressurized transmission fluid gets forced up that dipstick tube and sprays directly onto a turbocharger, glowing at over 1,000 degrees. It's going to ignite instantly, like a blowtorch. The first documented incident occurred September 18th, 2019. A 2020 Ram 3500 with just a few thousand miles on it was being driven normally when smoke began pouring from the engine bay. The driver pulled over. Within minutes, the truck, the brand new truck, was engulfed in flames. When the owner contacted Stellantis, they were like, hey, what? They were told that it was an isolated incident. Probably a fuel leak. Wild. Maybe improper maintenance, but it was certainly nothing to do.
What maintenance have you done in 3,000 miles?
But it was nothing, Zach, to do with a design defect. The insurance company paid out for total loss, and that was that. Except it wasn't isolated. Over the next 2 years, more fires were reported. A 2021 Ram 2500 caught fire at a stoplight after just 10 minutes of city driving.
That's stop and go. It'll get you.
It'll get you. A 2020 Ram 3500 erupted while merging onto a freeway. Terrifying. A 2022 Ram 2500 burned to the frame in a restaurant parking lot.
Oh, so after being shut off?
Yes.
Or, wow.
Each time, owners were told the same thing.
This is an isolated incident.
Operator error, not a defect. But the pattern was unmistakable. The fires all started in the same location, the passenger side of the engine bay, right where the dipstick met the turbocharger. The burn patterns were identical. And in multiple cases, witnesses reported seeing a fine mist in the moments before the fire started. This is what investigators would later call the geyser effect.
It's a big effect.
That's cool. I mean, not cool that people's cars are catching on fire. Under extreme pressure, transmission fluid was literally being blown out of the dipstick tube. Some owners reported seeing a red mist coating their windshield at highway speeds. That's transmission fluid. And it's being aerosolized.
If that's how that word is supposed to be.
I think that's what the word is, by the pressure. And it's being sprayed across the front of the truck. One owner described a near miss in an online forum. I was pulling a 15,000-pound trailer when I saw this oily mist suddenly coat my windshield. I could smell it. Sweet, burnt chemical. I killed the engine and coasted onto the shoulder. By the time I stopped, there was transmission fluid dripping off the frame. If I hadn't shut it down when I did, I'm convinced it would have caught fire.
Sounds right.
That owner was lucky. Others were not. 48 people.
Before they were like, okay, maybe this is a problem.
And it's 48 people between September 2019 and June 2022.
Yeah.
So that's 3 years. And Stellantis is receiving these fire reports, warranty claims, and owner complaints, but publicly, they maintained each incident was isolated 48 times. Imagine you're one of these owners and you have just spent $90,000, $120,000.
Depending on what trim level
Correct.
you get.
Yes. On a brand new truck. One, dumb investment, but that's okay. You do you. You need it for your business. You're a contractor. You're a farmer. You live in Texas. I'm sorry, I have to.
You just live in the States, so you got a truck.
I mean, I spend
bet they
so
got the
much
Texas
time.
edition.
I spend so much time on highways in Dallas, and the amount of times I see 3,500 trucks, I'm just like, what are you doing, finance bro?
What do you haul? My laptop,
No.
mostly.
This truck isn't a luxury for people that actually need it. It is how they make a living. And I get that. That's what these trucks are designed for. One day, it catches fire. You call your insurance company. They tell you it's a mechanical failure, not an accident. Coverage is limited. You call Stellantis. They say it's not a defect. Probably something that you did wrong. Overfilled the transmission fluid, maybe. I bet you were towing too much weight. You're stuck. You've lost your truck. You're underwater on the loan, for sure, and no one will take responsibility. This is what happened to dozens of Ram owners between 2019 and 2022, a period that I am calling the dead zone, because these owners were out there alone being gaslit by a corporation that allegedly knew exactly what was happening. I'm sorry, I have to keep saying allegedly, because if Stellantis sued us, we would lose. The financial devastation was real. A loaded 2022 Ram 3500 high output can cost $85,000 to $110,000. Insurance pays actual cash value after depreciation. That often leaves owners $10,000 to $20,000 short of replacement.
If you have more than like 4 miles on it, it's already dropped a few $1,000s in value.
Exactly. Lost income for commercial operators was on top of that, $500 to $1,200 a day for hotshot haulers who suddenly couldn't work. Heavy-duty towing for a burnt-out truck runs $1,500 to $3,000. And through all of it, owners were still making $600 monthly payments on these trucks.
If they had really good credit and put money down.
Yes. Yeah, it might be 800 something.
I mean, there's lots of trucks when people buy them, especially if they don't have much of a trade-in or they're upside down on the previous.
Over
I've
$1,000?
seen truck payments that were like $1,500 a month.
You better be living in that truck.
Well, they do when they're hot shotting. So
Actually, that's fair. That's a really good point. And luckily, these new trucks are so bougie on the inside.
they comfy.
Some received recall notices telling them not to park the truck near their house.
Just in case. Just don't park by your house.
But also, it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's your fault. And nothing's happening.
My
It's all
insurance
in your
wants me to
head.
park it in the garage, but my whole house will burn down if I do that. Crazy.
But again, nothing's wrong. So Stellantis was acknowledging the danger informally while offering nothing in return. God, what a bullshit corporate America thing to do. For commercial operators, this wasn't theoretical. Construction contractors couldn't fulfill jobs. Farmers were stranded during harvest season. Families in rural areas who depended on these trucks for everything found themselves with no options and no answers. Behind the scenes, however, Stellantis was watching. Internal documents that surfaced during litigation allegedly show engineers tracking these incidents. As early as 2020, they knew the fires clustered around the same model years. They knew the common factor was that these trucks had the redesigned 68 RFE transmission, and they allegedly knew the dipstick tube was the failure point. What they didn't do for nearly 3 years was issue a recall. The alleged reason that emerged in lawsuits, what do you think it was, Zach? What is it always?
Customer overfilled it or towed too much weight?
No, the reason that they didn't issue a recall.
Oh, because nobody had died?
Money. People could have died. I don't know if that.
Weird sound.
The biggest thing in corporate America, always, money, baby. It's money. So fixing this problem properly would mean either redesigning the transmission's thermal management, which is an expensive engineering overhaul, or replacing components on 250,000 trucks that were already in the field. Stellantis allegedly chose to wait. Let's just wait it out.
Let's just see what happens.
They waited through 2020, through 2021, and through early 2022. And finally, their hand was forced. But it wasn't because of concern for customer safety. It was because of volume. In the spring of 2022, Stellantis' warranty system registered 16 separate fire-related claims within a 3-month window, all involving identical circumstances. And that was enough that they were like, this was not a trend anymore. It was impossible to call isolated. So on June 7th, 2022, Stellantis opened an internal investigation designated PE 22-003. Engineers analyzed the burned trucks. What they found confirmed what owners and independent mechanics had been saying for years. Design defect, plain and simple. When you're investigating a vehicle fire, you are working backward from destruction. You get burnt truck, you must figure out
Why truck burnt?
why truck burnt. Fire consumes evidence. It melts metal, it turns complex systems into slag. But the engineers analyzing the Ram fires had a crucial advantage. They weren't looking at random fires. They were looking at near identical incidents. Same vehicles, same transmissions, same origin point. The burn patterns told the story. In fire investigation, there's something called a V pattern. It's the shape fire makes as it burns upward from its origin. In every Ram fire, the same V pattern appeared in the same spot. the passenger side of the engine bay.
Right above the turbo.
Hey, right at the dipstick. The real confirmation came from trucks that hadn't fully burned. So they had some where they were able to put out the fire with enough time to actually have something left to analyze. In these trucks, investigators found the dipstick either missing entirely, is a gallon, or blown several inches out of the tube, like what happened in my car. In one case, the dipstick was found lying on the ground 15 feet from the truck.
Oh.
It had projectiled itself. The pressure inside the transmission had physically ejected the metal dipstick with enough force to throw it 15 feet. Trucks that had experienced near misses told the same story. Transmission fluid sprayed throughout the engine bay, coating the turbocharger, the exhaust manifold, the firewall. When engineers pulled the transmissions apart, they found severe internal damage.
Like, what could have done this? What could have made it so hot?
Yeah, this is what they found. Burned clutch packs, warped valve body components, and torque converters showing clear evidence of sustained extreme heat. Now, Zach, I know you're not a transmission expert, but you're a hell of a mechanic. Is a transmission strong?
They're supposed to be.
Yeah. So to have this kind of damage, that's pretty wild.
That wasn't much of a question. I don't know how to answer that.
I'm leading the witness. It's because I'm not really smart enough to talk about this stuff with you. Like, I don't know what to ask you. What's your opinion on a burned clutch pack? Okay. So, the failure sequence was now documented. Under heavy load, the redesigned valve body caused the torque converter to generate heat beyond what the transmission's cooling system could manage. That heat built pressure in the fluid. The pressure exceeded what the standard vent could release. The fluid forced its way up the dipstick tube, sprayed directly into the turbocharger, and ignited. One of the most damning discoveries involved timing. In multiple fire cases, owners reported the truck had thrown a limp mode warning just minutes before the fire started. Zach, what is limp mode?
Just a very large restriction on the performance and power output that your engine can put out in order to save it from catastrophic failure.
Absolutely. Yes, that is exactly it. So it locks the truck into a single gear to prevent further damage. And it basically is just like, you're not going to be able to drive. I'm going to give you enough to get to a shop. Here's the deadly catch. When a transmission goes into limp mode under load, the torque converter experiences massive friction-induced heat as it tries to transfer power through a compromised hydraulic system. So it's like battling itself. It's trying to do a good, smart, logical thing.
But that good, smart, logical thing only works when the parts are already good.
Temperatures can spike from dangerous to catastrophic in minutes. Owners trying to push to the next exit were not buying time. They were accelerating toward fire. Fire.
Can't always get to the next exit, guys.
Guinea pigs say hi. Independent diesel mechanics had been watching this for years.
They're like, what the hell? I was thinking about buying one of them.
Several reported that during routine maintenance on 2020 and newer Ram trucks, they'd find transmission fluid puddled around the dipstick seal. Pressure building during normal operation before any limp mode event. Some started recommending aftermarket locking dipsticks.
Or maybe a completely different fluid.
That these shops were installing Band-Aid fixes years before Stellantis acknowledged the problem says everything about who was actually paying attention.
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly. By November 2022, Stellantis' internal investigation had documented 16 fires, 16 warranty claims, and 1 reported injury, described in official documents as minor. That word deserves scrutiny because what actually happened, according to sources close to the incident, an owner tried to extinguish a transmission fire by opening the hood.
And burnt himself.
Oh, God. When they did, the fire, which in this case is just burning transmission fluid, sprayed them. They were hit with the burning transmission fluid. It was described as a blowtorch effect. Yeah, they suffered second-degree burns to their hands and arms along with smoke inhalation. Or as Stellantis calls it, minor. On November 17th, 2022, 3 years and 2 months after the first documented fire, Stellantis issued recall ZA3 NHTSA campaign 22V-835. Everybody knows that one. The recall covered 248,342 vehicles.
Jesus.
So it's 2020 through 2023 Ram 2500 trucks and 2020 through 2022 Ram 3500 trucks, all equipped with the 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel and the 68 RFE transmission. At the time the recall was issued, Stellantis didn't have a fix ready. The recall notice stated the repair was currently under development. So they sent letters to 250,000 truck owners saying, hey...
we don't have a fix, but send us your truck and we'll get there.
No, not even that. They literally just sent it like, your truck might catch on fire, but we don't really know what to do. So there you go.
Same thing with your airbags. This might deploy and hurt somebody at random.
But usually, at least when they do that, typically, they have something.
Yeah, you can go and get the service and they'll just swap it out
Exactly.
for whatever new part.
This is like that, except without the last part. Just like, your truck might catch on fire. Thought you ought to know. Trouble in the dungeon. If you received that recall notice in December 2022, you faced a real choice. Keep driving your truck, knowing it might catch on fire, or park it and wait months for parts that don't exist.
And then, when the parts come in, be lucky to get in there before they're out of stock again and
100%.
back-ordered for 9 months.
Zach knows. For commercial operators, parking wasn't an option. Unless this is just like a luxury bouge truck that you're not really using.
I bought this truck just to have it.
Yeah. Contractors can't stop working. Farmers can't pause a harvest. Hotshot haulers can't just tell their clients like, sorry.
My truck's got this recall. What do you want me to do?
My truck might explode. So most of them kept driving, and they kept making $600 monthly payments on trucks that could explode. Parts finally started reaching dealers in early 2023. Even then, Zach nailed it because he lives it. Supply was extremely limited, and some owners waited 4 to 6 months for service. So, what was the fix? Stellantis replaced the standard dipstick with a locking version. You can't make this shit up. The diesel mechanics were years ahead of Stellantis.
That's all they did was to replace the dipstick?
Yes. A threaded collar that screws into the tube, preventing it from being blown out under pressure. They also did, to give them a little bit of credit, they did also fix the vent. So they installed a larger vent tube designed to give the transmission some better pressure relief.
But it's still building the same heat.
Let's talk about what it does and what it doesn't do. Because, yeah. It does not reduce the heat generated in the torque converter. And in case you couldn't tell, guys, Zach is so smart and he's so good at this shit. He immediately called it out. You don't even work for Stellantis, and I've told you 30 minutes of this story, and you're like, issue identified. Boom. You nailed it. It does not address the root cause, the redesigned valve body that changed how hydraulic pressure moves through the system. It does redirect the problem.
It keeps it from burning to the ground.
It redirects the problem really well. If the transmission still overheats and pressure builds, the fluid now vents down and away from the turbocharger instead of spraying directly onto it. Hooray!
It's a benefit. They probably dumped it right at the crossover section of the exhaust, though.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Now you'll just have flames coming out your ass instead of out your hood. Think of a pressure cooker building dangerous steam. You can reduce the heat, solve the problem. Or you can install a better release valve so the steam goes somewhere safe instead of exploding. And Stellantis chose option 2. Does it work, Zach? We're going to give it an eh. As of January 2026, there are no widely reported fires in trucks that received the recall repair, but there are ongoing reports of transmissions going into limp mode, temperatures still spiking under heavy load, and owners finding fluid puddled under their trucks after long drives. So the fix does prevent fire. Only you can prevent forest fires. However, it doesn't prevent the overheating. For context, a fire rate of 0.019%, 48 fires across 250,000 trucks.
Like, not bad, honestly.
It sounds small, but in automotive engineering, it's considered very high for a single component failure. Competing transmissions like GM's Allison and Ford's 10R140 have had their own issues, but neither produced the geyser effect that caused instant ignition. Woof. The uncomfortable question is whether Stellantis made the right call. A proper engineering solution would have meant redesigning the transmission's thermal management, potentially replacing components on every affected truck.
Yup.
Instead, they installed what amounts to a locking cap and a longer hose. It's faster.
A bigger, longer hose.
It's cheaper. And it technically eliminates the fire risk. But it leaves these transmissions operating under conditions that they were not designed for. Owners knew it too. Online forums are full of people who have installed aftermarket transmission temperature gauges just to monitor what's happening in real time. And some have added aftermarket coolers, additional radiators dedicated solely to transmission fluid temperature.
There are fixes for that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. But you shouldn't have to do that on a $110,000 truck, in my humble opinion.
Should it just work? Yes.
Should it just fucking work? Let's talk about money. As of January 2026, the legal aftermath is still unfolding. Multiple class action lawsuits have been filed against Stellantis, with firms like Top Class Actions and Robbins Kaplan actively representing Ram owners who experienced fires or fire-related losses. The core allegations: Stellantis knew about the geyser effect as early as 2020, and they delayed issuing a recall to avoid the cost of fixing the vehicles in the field. If internal documents support that, it means the company made a calculated decision to leave truck owners exposed for years.
To possible death.
Yeah. Yes. It's the Pinto story all over again, which I have had written for a year, and I can't wait to tell everybody that story. Some owners have reached settlements. In late 2025, a class action settlement was finalized in which Stellantis agreed to pay $3,000 to owners who experienced fires. $3,000.
Only $3,000.
$3,000 against a $10,000 to $20,000 insurance shortfall, lost income, towing costs, and in some cases destroyed businesses. It's a number that tells you exactly how seriously Stellantis took the people on the other end of this. For owners who experienced fires before the November 2022 recall, the frustration is compounded. Stellantis told them their fires weren't the company's fault. Insurance claims were denied or underpaid, and then months later, the recall notice arrived, which acknowledged exactly what had happened all along, without any retroactive compensation for the people who had already lost everything.
Yeah, well, that part's already taken care of, so what do we care?
So one owner whose 2021 Ram 3500 burned in April 2022, 7 months before the recall, described the aftermath this way. Stellantis investigated and denied responsibility. Then the recall came out, and by then the truck was gone. The business income was gone. Everything they'd had in the vehicle was gone. Not a cent of reimbursement.
Sounds like corporate greed, allegedly.
Yeah, they really do. For current owners, if you are driving a 2020 to 2023 Ram 2500 or a 2020 to 2022 Ram 3500 with the Cummins diesel, please check your recall status. Go to safecar.gov, enter your VIN. If the repair hasn't been done yet, for the love of God, please do that. I don't want you catching on fire. Even after the repair, continue to pay attention. If your transmission temperatures climb into the red, if you smell something funny, pull over. Okay? And don't try to make it to the next exit. Just pull your shit over and turn it off. The legacy of the Ram transmission fires is still being written. The recall is out. Most trucks have been repaired, but the underlying question hasn't been answered. Why did it take 3 years and 48 fires?
And why is it still not fixed? It's just kind of a partial solution to at least not cause the fire part. It's still overheating, still garbage.
Zach, that is a question that will follow America's best-selling heavy-duty truck for years to come. That's our story for today.
I am a little surprised that I haven't heard more of that one because their gas engine stuff is also catching on fire from transmission fluid jumping onto the exhaust. But I haven't really heard anybody talk about the diesel ones.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on the social medias, although we don't post there. But we love getting messages from you. And you can always email us at final call, final boarding call podcast@gmail.com. We will send you some stickers, and join us next time when we'll be exploring another transportation disaster story. Until then, remember to stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for the unexpected, because not every trip reaches its final destination.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.